Everybody doing today? Welcome to my Sunday live stream where we talk about photography and catch up with the community and see how everybody's doing. And as it shows in the thumbnail today, I have a very special guest with me, Robin Wong. We've been sort of YouTube buddies for a long time, many years now, and I'm so honored and proud to have him as one of my colleagues here in the YouTube community, but also in the photography community. And I have such a tremendous amount of respect for what Robin has done for us as a educator and content provider and giving us information on, both cameras, lenses, everything new and old, and also in photography itself, giving us tips and tricks and helping us to improve our photography. So he's been a tremendous asset, and not only that is the kind of person he is. It's really a reflection of who he is as a person. That he's a very giving person and selfless, and always has the viewer's interest at heart. And I never question his sincerity when he talks about things on his channel. I know that everything he does and says is coming from his heart and is always with you guys in mind. And that's I'd say the most impressive thing about Robin is who he is as a person. Never mind all of his technical skills and all of the work that he's done for all of us here, myself included, to learn more about photography and the kind of gear that we can use to see our vision in our images. And hopefully I picked out some interesting topics today. I want to kind of do this as a podcast type style where it's like two photographers just sort of talking to each other. But I invite you in the chat section to also share your thoughts and ideas. Now I'm not going to be able to see them, directly, because I'm going to have all my attention with Robin. But we will break towards the end and do an open Q&A. And so if you have any questions, feel free to ask them towards the end of the stream. But during the stream, don't hesitate to leave any comments or your thoughts on our conversation, so that others who may be watching or rewatching later can see the feedback from you guys as well. Because it's, like I said, it's just us two right now that is live, and but it's all of you as well. And we're just, one person, one opinion each, right? So without further ado, let me bring Robin in, and hopefully we don't have any issues here, but there he is. Hey,
Hey
Robin, how's it going?
everyone! Hey Rob! Oh Rob,
This-
you're too kind in an introduction. I don't think I
oh,
deserve that, but thank you so much.
no. If anything, I'm understating it. And Robin has had a very, very long day today.
Oh
He attended
yeah.
two different events. And one of them was basically like an insurance seminar, but it was a law seminar, pretty much the same thing. It just bore you to tears, I'm sure. How did
It
that
was
go? Was
the
that,
photography copyright presentation by a lawyer. It was organized by Nikon. It was actually very interesting. The lawyer did a
yeah?
great job simplifying things for us to digest easily. So I picked up a
Okay.
lot of things about, because I have almost zero knowledge about copyright laws for
Yeah.
photography in Malaysia. I have no, and for someone who is doing photography professionally, that's actually very bad. I need to educate myself
Wow.
more. So yeah, it was very
Okay.
eye-opening. I learned a lot of things in the morning, and then in the afternoon, I went to a Panasonic touch and try event in a retail shop. I met up some
Hmm.
friends there. I did a video, can't wait to share with everyone. And yeah,
Yes.
and I got back in time. I edited the video, so the video is ready to go. I think I'll publish it 1 week
Wow.
from now. Yes, just in time before dinner. I had dinner, and here I am waiting for Rob to go
Wow.
live. Yes, and I'm
Wow.
very happy to
Wow.
be here. Very, very happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Rob.
No, it's my honor, but it's like that is, I don't know how you work so hard. I'm always impressed with that because I'm very different. I just kind of turn the
Oh,
camera on and jibber jabber, and occasionally I'll put some work into a video, but then I'll get like 100 views.
but to be
Anyway,
fair, tomorrow I only have lunch appointment with a friend, and that's it. That's it for tomorrow. So tomorrow
Oh,
will be a
good.
rest day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to hearing about your seminar and the event you went
Yeah.
to today in your next
Sure.
stream, or whenever you decide to share that with us. That I'm sure that's very exciting and interesting. But
Yes.
what I wanted to kind of dive into today is a couple of different things. A little bit about gear and sort of our Micro Four Thirds perspective, and then also go into. I wanted to kind of pick your brains in photography as well,
Mm.
because your Instagram channel, you post so many images and street photography, food photography, and
Yes.
it has it really has you have a certain style that I want to dive into as well and pick your brains on that.
Sounds
Uh,
fun.
but you know, let me old man here. Let me check my notes here because if I don't check my notes, I'm going to go off a tangent.
That can
Uh,
be fun too.
yeah. So the first thing is basically you and I are both working professionals, and we use Micro Four
Hmm.
Thirds as our system for our professional work. Our
Yes.
industries are very different, which I think it, amplifies how diverse the Micro Four Thirds system is. I do
Mm.
primarily architectural, commercial real estate, and I see you do a lot of event photography, food
Yes.
photography, products. And these are very two different genres, and yet the Micro Four Thirds
Yes.
system is our preferred system of choice. And for me, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this, is
Sure.
I feel like the Olympus and OM system cameras had a lot of thought put them into them with respect to how they're used by actual photographers.
I agree.
I think they're very intuitive. The layout of the controls, they're just the right amount number of buttons, just the right position, placement.
Yes.
Uh, Everyone complains about the menu system, but
Nah.
I feel like there is a certain organization, even the older one,
Mm.
where it was A, B, C, D, it made sense to me. Things were grouped and
Yes.
categorized. And once you kind of got a feel for that, everything makes a lot more sense. And the implementation of the features, I don't think anyone else executes
Mm.
the what they call the computational features now, but they're really just, you know, uh, things that cameras can do. And everyone's doing it now, but I think no one executes these computational type features better than Olympus OM systems. Panasonic comes close,
Mm.
but they were playing catch up and all the other systems. But that's kind of my feel. But I wanted to pick your brains and see what else there might be, what the areas that you feel that the OM systems, Olympus cameras, really have executed well or have put a lot of thought into as for working photographers.
I do event photography, as you have mentioned, and I will use one example, a real example from last year. In August, I was the official photographer for Yayasan Sime Darby Arts Festival, and
Mm,
this was the largest art festival in Malaysia, and I was lucky to be assigned as the official photographer. So I was working with my team. I brought in some of my friends as photographers, and it was a 3 full days event. Of course, leading up to the finale, there were a lot of like press conferences, mini festivals,
mhm.
musical performance leading up towards the finale. Right? The finale is like they have events happening everywhere on the Kuala Lumpur Performing Arts Center. That building has 5 stories, and each story will have separate events happening, like
Wow.
workshops. They have dance. They have like concerts. Concerts happening outside, not in the building itself, but they have all kinds of exhibitions, talks, all kinds of things. They have activities for children as well. So at one time, you can have more than 10 activities happening at the same time. And I was tasked to shoot everything. Of course, I can't do it alone. That's why I need a team. And my team, I'm very proud to say, 100% Micro Four Thirds, 100%
Wow.
Olympus system. Yes, all of because I need them. The reason why I chose this is because for consistency, we need to surrender our images almost every 2 hours. The
Mm.
client wants to publish the images instantly on Instagram stories.
Wow.
So if everyone has the same JPEG profile, the
Yes.
colors will look consistent, right? I can't bring in some from Sony, from Fuji, and everyone will, I want to use my film simulation. Sony people say, I want to use this and that. And in the end, you have all kinds of different weird colors. So that's why my team is fully Micro Four Thirds. And for myself, I find that that is the most stressful job that I've ever done in my life. I need to run everywhere, inside,
Right.
outside, climb the stairs, and I need to go to so many different places. And I carry almost everything with me. I carried one body. I left one body as a backup. I didn't carry the backup body with me. I knew where to get it quickly if I need to. So my main body was EM1 Mark II. I carried 5 lenses with me, 9 f1.7, 15 f1.7, both Panasonic lenses, Olympus 25 f1.2, Olympus 45 f1.8, and Olympus 75 f1.8. And all these lenses, they managed to cover everything that I need, because as an official photographer, I need to go really, 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 really near. I can. I
Yeah.
have the access, right? I have the tag official photographer. So 75 f1.8 is actually more than enough from. I don't need 40 to 150 unless you're shooting like a large stadium size concert. That's a different story.
Right.
The 40 to 150 may not even be enough. So for my case, it was just a small concert. That's the largest thing that's happening there. And everything else, I can just use 45 f1.8 so that I don't go too close. I need to make sure that I don't disturb whatever that's going on. 25 f1.2, and all these lenses are so small. I pack in a small messenger bag. I've been on my feet from morning. I think from the event starts at 10, but we had to be there by 8, and we shot all the way until nighttime 10 o'clock for 3 days consecutively, non-stop, right? So I didn't feel any pain on my body. Of course, I condition myself. I prepare myself before the shoot. Of course, I make sure that I'm physically fit to be able to do the jobs. But if I have used something heavier, say a Canon 70 to 200, or a larger camera, for example, carrying larger lenses, it adds up. Each size and weight of each lens, they add up in the bag. And I don't think I can run as fast as I can. I don't think I can be as agile and as efficient as I can. So the size and weight thing for me now is still a very big thing, and it's still one of the big factors that is still preventing me from going full frame. One lens, for example, I've talked about this before, 75 f1.8. That lens is a miracle. It goes to 150, and it's f1.8. No one does that. You know, people tell me, Robin, there is like 135 f2. Have you seen how huge that thing is?
Right.
So
Right.
there's no comparison. There's just no comparison, right? In terms of size, it helps me to get my shots very, very. And I've seen the shots that my team they took. They were very impressive. There's the reason why I chose them. Some of them, I admit, they were even better than me in capturing certain scenarios or certain shoots. They were
Right.
really capable Micro Four Thirds shooters, and they use fully 100% Micro Four Thirds. And I think, like, coming back to your question, whether it's still relevant to use Micro Four Thirds products today as professional photographers, in this particular case, we were assigned as the official photographers for the largest art festival in Malaysia.
Wow.
And there's no doubt Micro Four Thirds performed. It delivered the results. Yeah.
Yeah, and you brought up a couple of interesting points about having to deliver the images every couple of hours. Is that what you said?
JPEGs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you deliver JPEGs.
Yes.
And that not only speaks to, why would anybody shoot JPEG? There are instances where, at live events, a lot of times that's what you have to deliver.
Yes.
And I think you'll agree with me on this, as well as I've seen many other people that have switched from, or not switched, but maybe added Micro Four Thirds to their thing, coming from Canon, Sony, Nikon, etc., have all said that generally the consensus is the colors coming from the JPEG engine, the raw files for that matter, really, because that's the source, right? But the
Yes.
JPEG,
Yes.
I found the white balance and the colors coming from Olympus cameras have always been pretty much spot on, and I
Yes.
rarely have to do any work to them.
Agreed.
You
Fully
know,
agreed.
I mean, I just, when I started, when I added the Fuji and the Sonys to my bag, every time I have to go in and I spend like half my time trying to fix the colors. And, it's subjective, right? What colors
True.
we like and don't like. But with the Olympus, from the very beginning, I've never really had to tweak the colors.
Mm.
They've always come out just right, in the white balance, whether I'm indoors or outdoors, cloudy day, sunny day, it always seems
Mm.
to be perfect. It does
Agreed.
such a good
Agreed.
job. Um, and the other thing was about, that's small size and weight in comparison to other
Mm.
systems. I think too often, and you've done this in your own streams,
Yes.
we talk about how the bodies and the size of full frame systems, or APS-C for that matter, are now
Mm.
pretty much the same size as, say, an OM1,
Getting smaller,
right?
right? They're getting smaller. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And but it's the lenses and the system. When you start putting all that together, it adds up.
Yes.
It adds up. And that's why I think that's why it's Micro Four Thirds really is very, very understated for professional use, because these are very significant advantages for a professional to be able
Yes.
to deliver JPEGs very quickly and to be able to work very quickly with a smaller system. You can carry all the lenses you talked about like this,
True, true. Yes,
75,
yes.
17, 25,
Yes.
9, 15. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah, just with
like this,
two. Yes, yes,
right?
yes. I
You put
agree.
one on the camera and you just put few in a small little, bag, and you can go
And I
everywhere.
ran, I ran a few times with the bag, so yeah, it
Yeah,
helps. It really
yeah.
helps.
For me, when I do events, I like the 12 to 40 Pro and
Ah,
the 40 to 150 kit lens. Those two get
ah.
me by, because swapping primes during an event for me is, would be too much. I'm content with just zooming in and out. But, for everything else, when I shoot my architectural stuff, it's always prime.
Ah.
Um, but yeah, those are excellent points, and I think even for just the average enthusiast and people getting
Mm.
started, the OM Systems Micro Four Thirds system is a very, very easy entry point into real photography. And I think the beautiful thing is that there's no limit to the camera, so to speak,
Mm.
especially like the M10 Mark II. You can use that camera professionally because it has everything, that say the
Yes,
OM1
I
does.
agreed. I agree. And the
You
thing that I really like about how Olympus designed their camera lineup, if you look at the lower level cameras like the EPL7 or
know,
EM10 Mark 1, Mark 2, right? They are basically having the same processor, and a lot of the autofocus capabilities, the features, they're very similar to the flagship. Of course, the
right.
flagship has like magnesium alloy body, wider ceiling, more
Yeah.
powerful image stabilization. But if you take away those things, the core of the camera, the image quality, the autofocus performance, they are very, very similar. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was like for a long period of time. If you don't need like a weather ceiling, if you don't need dual cut slots, if you don't need like the best image stabilization or pro capture mode, EM10 would suffice. Yeah. So
Yeah.
like you said, it's the perfect, I wouldn't say perfect, but if you compare with like Fuji, they have all kinds of like lower level cameras, Sony as well, Canon as well. They'll use like much older generation image sensor, and then they wouldn't have like the autofocus is different, and then the
Yeah.
build quality is bad, Whereas if you look at most of Olympus or Panasonic cameras, they were very well built, even at the low level cameras. So yeah, that's why,
Yes.
as you mentioned, Micro Four Thirds is an excellent entry point for anyone who wants to start or upgrade, let's say from smartphones, for example. Yeah.
Yeah. So even with everything that's on the market today, would you still recommend people start
Oh,
with any camera
even
or?
even better, even better. If you want to buy new now, I'm not sure in the States, in the US, but in Malaysia, I would recommend say EPL10, EPL9, or
Mm,
EM10 Mark III. It's still selling here in EM10 Mark
mm,
III. I think those are, for the price that you pay, you get a lot.
yeah.
And then after that, if everyone is on budget, then find use lenses. Use
Yeah.
45 f1.8, use 25 f1.8. Those lenses are excellent and they're not expensive, right? Yeah.
Right. And that's what's always been a curiosity to me is the Micro Four Thirds system on the used market, save for the exception of the Pen F, the prices are still very, very sort of reasonable, right? They've
Yes.
gone up a little,
Yes.
but not as much as some other cameras, you know.
Fuji is insane. Fuji is insane. Yeah.
Yeah, even like the Panasonic LX100, it's like,
Ah.
why are they charging new prices for a 5-year-old camera? You know, why is the Pen F going for $1,200 now here in the US?
Yeah.
Why?
True.
It
True.
doesn't make
True.
any
True.
sense to me. But everything else, EM10s, the Mark III, Mark IV, Mark II, EM5 Mark II, EM5 Mark III, all of these cameras, the prices on the used market are very
Mm.
normal. Like I said, they've gone up a little,
Yes.
but not like a lot of other brands that are just ridiculously high for what they're asking. And that
Agreed.
and that's sort of where I think uh, the other thing I wanted to talk about was, you know, the compact fixed lens camera market.
Ah. All
Now, I
right.
know you talked about this in your streams, and I enjoyed that conversation. Uh, but I wanted to sort of ask you, what do you think is really, now that we've had a little time here,
Sure.
what do you think is really driving this market? Why are the prices so ridiculously high for these compact cameras?
Ah.
And who do you think the market, who do you think's buying these things? Because I'm not going to buy one at those prices myself. 'Cause I know better.
Yeah, we're gonna get Micro Four Thirds lenses, right? For that,
Yeah.
we need to step back a little bit.
Mhm.
So there was a time where those compact cameras, right?
Right.
CCD compact cameras or those cameras, point and shoot cameras. There was a time where they were dominant, and believe it or not, those made up the bulk of the profit for camera companies, although they have DSLRs like Canon, Nikon, but the lowest level camera is the one that they move the largest quantity. But they
Mm.
all changed very quickly when smartphones came. Of course, smartphone cameras have improved over time, and people have shown to prefer convenience. We got to understand, a lot of people who bought the cameras at that time, the point and shoot cameras, they did not buy it because they want to do photography. A lot of them don't even
Mm.
care about photography. They just want to take photos for several reasons. Maybe
Right.
they travel, they just want to take some travel photographs from memory to show their share with friends and family, right? Or
Mhm.
maybe birthday shots of their son, or maybe it's their newborn baby in the house.
Yeah.
So they just want to take some photos of the baby. But these people use the cameras. They are not necessarily wanting to take nice photos, or they're not into the craft of imaging. They don't care about like what we do. We obsess about finding the perfect angle or composition or lighting. They don't care about those things. They just
Right.
want photos. And a lot of people, for that use case scenario, smartphone is good enough. It may not be better than compact cameras back then. They don't care. You cannot zoom. Who cares? The high ISO image is not as good. Who cares, right? And here's the thing: the smartphone manufacturers did push the quality of
Yeah.
the smartphone camera to a point where it's actually very decent today, right? So for the longest time, that's why compact cameras have died. Olympus, believe it or not, Olympus was the first to give up on compact point and shoot. They only
Mm.
maintain a few lines. The Tough series still continue to sell, TG3, TG4, TG5, right?
Right.
Those continue to sell, but they were the first to cut out all compact cameras. They say that we cannot sustain this. The cost is too high. We don't have enough sales anymore because of smartphone users. So now, coming to this particular day, almost everyone has a smartphone, right? Everyone I know has a smartphone. I'm sure everyone you know has a smartphone as well. So everyone has
Right.
a camera. And there are certain things that the smartphones cannot do, right? It doesn't do as well as an actual camera.
Right.
So when people switch to smartphone camera, it sort of like took away what made a camera special. It's just a tool to capture photos, but it's not exactly a serious photography tool. And as more and more people start to look at Instagram, look at like those amazing photographs, of course, there's TikTok as well. People are more aware. YouTube plays a huge part as well, promoting photography. As more and more smartphone users realize that, hey, I want to do more than just what I can do with my smartphone. What can I do? That's when they realize that, oh, those compact cameras back then, they were not bad. Like those colors from those cameras. Here's the thing. It is the colors from the compact cameras are not better than smartphone cameras. But the problem is the smartphone manufacturers, they are pushing the processing. They are over exaggerating the processing to a point where noise reduction is too aggressive, the colors become so fake, the skin tone become like just one tone. There's
Yeah.
no definition on the skin, and everything just looks smoothened out. There's no detail, and suddenly you pick up a 10 years old compact camera, you take a photo and look at the colors. Wow, these are not bad. Even in low light, you use the flash or use high ISO with all the ugly noise, the photos still look better than the modern over-processed photos. I think that's when they realize that when they want to do more, and then when they saw what these compact cameras can do, that's when they start to go back and rediscover, hey, actually, wow, I can use flash. Wow, I can zoom 10, 20 times. Some of those smaller cameras can zoom all the way. And that's
Right.
when the interest comes back to, of course, a lot of them would have upgraded to like, say, mirrorless or DSLRs. But then compact cameras is different because they are tiny. It is still one product to do everything, right? You just
Yeah.
turn it on, point, and shoot. So the experience of using a compact camera is very similar to a smartphone. It's just that you can do more, and the results maybe even be better than what you get from
Yeah.
smartphones today. That's my thought, right? Yeah.
That's interesting that I've never thought about in this way where these older cameras, compact cameras, are in a way giving a more organic image,
Yes.
right?
Less
They're
processing.
paying less
So much less
processing.
processing. Yeah.
Yeah. And that is true because when I do take pictures, because I have so many compact cameras, um, as a having all these higher end cameras, I look at them like you say, there's noise, there's, you know, the lens
Like
quality is
blown
not
outs.
great, blown out highlights. But at
Yeah.
the same time, it is more organic, meaning I'm getting exactly what the sensor is capable of versus taking what the sensor is getting and then processing the hell out of it like a smartphone would.
With all the
Um,
HDRs happening, right? Yeah.
yeah, and I think the handling, like you said, working with a compact camera is just there's something to it where you just turn it on and take a picture. Versus a
Yes.
smartphone, there's so many distractions. You could be trying to take a picture and all these messages pop up in the middle of your. That's happened to me. I'm like trying to record a video and
Same,
then I get a
same.
phone call. I'm like, come on, it's like, but that's true.
Agreed.
And yeah, I'm still shocked that the market, I guess someone mentioned about supply and demand, and there's
Ah.
more demand for these now than there is supply, and that's what prices go up. And that's basic economics.
Mm.
I'm trying to figure out why is there demand? Why, when you can buy, uh, a modern digital camera,
Mm.
uh, you know, like an EM10 Mark II for less than some of these stupid compacts are selling for, and you're getting much. It just
I
makes no
agree.
sense to me. But I'm happy people are seeing the difference though,
They
even
are.
though it is like you said, they're seeing the difference between using a camera, and hopefully that'll inspire them or influence them to get real cameras.
Did
uh,
you did you see the data recently published by BCN Japan? the
Mm.
top selling cameras, the top 50. So for OM system or Olympus, it's the EPL7. That's the top selling camera now.
Wow.
EPL7. Yeah. How
Is
many
that
years has
the
it
one
been?
that's sort of like the no the PL7, not the P7, right? Because
Yes,
EP7 is the newer
EPL
one.
PL7. Yes, the older one.
Wow.
That's still the
Oh,
top, and the reason is because it's really small. People want, I
yeah,
mean, coming back a little bit more on the discussion, we want the camera to be small, right? The small, not to say that as small as the GM one, that's a little bit too tiny, but
yeah,
there's something fun about using small cameras. There's just something very, very fun. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and that's a big part of it too. Is this? It's just more fun to use a real camera than it is your smartphone.
Mm.
Smartphones are
Physical shutter button, yep.
yeah, yeah, and you can tilt the screen and just
Yeah.
more you can do with a compact camera. I got the on loan. I have an LX100 Mark II, and I have a
Nice.
Stylus 1S.
Wow.
And I've been really enjoying my time with those cameras because you can just hang them around your neck
Yes.
and go out, and you got incredible reach with that 1S.
Yeah, yep.
And I feel like the image quality I'm getting from the LX100 is superb. I mean, I had to tweak the colors. I had to make a new color profile for it.
Yeah,
But
Panasonic, yeah.
yeah, so I'm very tempted actually by the Leica Deluxe 8.
Oh,
As
okay, okay.
as
Getting the
ridiculous as
Leica
that is,
colors.
but I'd rather overpay for a new Deluxe 8 than overpay for an LX100 Mark II.
Understand. Totally understand.
You
And
know,
you
it's
get
an
the red
LX one.
dot.
Yeah, it should be like a $500 camera, the LX100 version 2 or less.
Yeah. Agreed,
They're
agreed.
they're asking like $1,000 for that thing,
Wow. Okay.
here.
Well, I
So I'm
can
like,
get like a used EM1 Mark III for that price, even lower than that.
yeah, yeah, it's
Doesn't make
ridiculous, but
sense. Doesn't make sense. Yeah.
I know. But yeah, that I think if you don't have a camera now, you know, getting a compact camera, do you think that makes sense? I mean, would you so let's say somebody comes up
Mm.
to you and says, "I'd like to get into photography, but I don't want to get
Mm.
into, all these lenses and everything.
Ah.
I just want something small and lightweight." Would you say it's worth it to go just a little bit bigger with a micro four thirds, or would you say just start with this compact camera, like an LX100 Mark One, or how would
I
you
would
how would
say if they really don't want the complexity of changing lenses, then I will push 1 inch sensor compacts. For
mm,
example, Sony RX100 series cameras, maybe
mhm,
RX100 Mark III, maybe not the first generation. That I tried a camera, it has some
mm,
issues. Maybe the Mark III or Mark IV, or Panasonic LX10. I think it's a different naming in the US. There's a 1 inch Panasonic camera, very similar to the Sony counterpart, or a Canon G7X series. So the 1 inch compact. I think they are very small, very light, and still get like so much better quality than the older, much smaller size compact cameras,
yeah,
the sensor size. Yeah, I'll push the 1 inch size sensors.
interesting. Okay. I've looked at like the Sony ZV-1.
Oh, but that's for vlogging, right? It's not
Yeah,
really designed for
yeah.
photography.
It doesn't have a lot of buttons for
Yeah,
photography. You can get
yeah,
to it through the menu, right? It'll
yeah.
do everything.
I'll
But
go for
yeah,
the
it's very
RX100 though, the counterparts of the Z, because the
yeah.
ZV-1 was designed based on RX100 Mark V, I think, or around
Mhm.
there. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But actually, I really like my LX5, my old Panasonic LX5.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
That
I like
works
that
too. That
camera a
works
lot.
too.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you just have to watch. But anyhow, that's interesting. The 1 inch sensor, like the LX10,
Mm.
I think,
Yeah. I
is
thought it's
very, very
fantastic.
tempting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very tempting. But they're asking new price, $500
Really? Oh my
for an
goodness.
LX10. Now that camera's been out like 10
Okay.
years or whatever, you know?
Okay,
So
that's not worth it. That's not then different story then. If they're asking for
I
so
know,
much.
I know. It's crazy. So what I like to do is just take a little break for a Q&A session before we go on
Sure.
to the next topic.
Perfect.
Um, and I think I saw a couple. I'm really bad at. You're so good. I wish you were in charge of the chat section. You're so good
No.
at that.
In case
Um,
you, yeah, I mean, in case you didn't realize, most of my stream was I'm just answering questions. I did not really talk much.
that is talking, answering questions.
That's the trick,
Um,
right?
but I remember one comment was that most of the manufacturers got out of the compact market, even though there's demand for it because it's not profitable. What do
Yes.
you think about that? You think that's the main problem?
Not really. They're just not selling enough. In order to be profitable, they need to move at an extremely large quantity. And as the smartphones have become mainstream, people just don't buy compacts anymore. Yeah.
Okay, so it is a supply demand on the used market.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
just not
Yes.
enough
Yes.
supply. So there's
Mm.
just enough demand there to drive the prices up, but not enough demand for manufacturers to come out with,
No, no enough
yeah,
because
you know,
smartphones are still dominant. Unfortunately, smartphones
yeah,
not going to go any. It's not going to go away.
yeah. But the high-end compact market, like the X100V and
Mm.
V1,
Oh
the
yeah, that's a
that is
different
kind of a
story though.
yeah. I mean, I agree. I think they, because you've talked about that camera in one of your vlogs, that they really hit all of the
Yeah, all the
they
check
check
boxes,
all the
right?
boxes.
Yeah,
Weather sealed, tilting screen,
5-axis IS. Yeah,
5-axis IS,
yeah,
and viewfinder,
large
flash,
sensor, good
all of the
lens.
things that
Yeah,
the S9, and granted, the S9 is not a photography camera, but
yeah.
uh, the S9 really missed a lot compared
Not
to the
true.
X100V.
That's true. That's true.
From a photographer standpoint, I think, um, I was excited about it until I saw
Oh,
how
you've seen it?
yeah, yeah, I thought it was is interesting, but yeah, lack of a hot shoe, no shutter, I get it. I get why they did all these things, but a little bit too much compromise for a photographer, I think.
Yeah.
Even
Understand?
as a second camera, I know Emily over at Micro Four Nerds really likes it. You know, she likes the LUTs and all of that. Uh,
Yes, yes, yes.
and I get it. Different strokes for different folks, but
True, 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 true.
I'm more of a purist. Are you more of a purist when it comes to your image editing and stuff, or?
I don't manipulate my images a lot though.
Mhm.
I do very minimal editing to my photographs.
Yeah,
If I because a lot of people have requested, hey Robin, why don't you do like post processing tutorial or tips and tricks or like video to talk about post processing, and I was like, if I were to do that, it will be very there's nothing new or nothing interesting to share. I'll just
yeah,
crop a little bit, straighten a little bit, add a bit of contrast, maybe change the white balance, and that's it. These are very basic things, right? People are
right.
expecting like, oh, layers, brush, and everything, or maybe using the AI prompt to add something. I don't even use those things. Yeah.
Well, if you get it, and I know this has been said 100 times, but you get it right in camera, meaning you got the exposure that you
Mm,
want, you got the composition that you want.
mm.
When it comes to editing, there's very little that you need to do, and
True.
that
That's
only
very
comes
true.
with practice, right? And finding your
Mm.
style and your own way of shooting and capturing the images that you want to capture, and that's something that over time, I can look at a scene and capture exactly what I want,
Agreed.
right?
Agreed.
And then the editing is very simple, but there's still times when I do a ton of editing. uh, but that's yeah, I think that's something everyone needs to understand is getting it right in camera doesn't mean necessarily, we're talking about exposure, right? we're talking about everything, the composition, the subject, getting everything that you want right. And then the editing becomes very simple. You're not cropping down to just the corner or the center. You're not
Yeah.
pushing the colors one way or the other. You're not flipping between, does this look better in black and white or in color? Because you got it right the first time. You
Agreed.
said, I intended to do this in black and white, you know?
I see some people
Yeah.
in the chat. There's
Oh, oh my
Emily,
goodness.
Emily Taupin.
Yes.
Hello, Emily.
Hi, Emily.
and
How are you? Good to see you.
and
And I see
Marlene,
Marlene.
Marlene as well.
Yes.
Marlene.
Wow. That's awesome. Thanks
All
for
the
dropping in,
huge,
guys.
huge YouTubers here.
Yeah, yeah. Some of our colleagues here. That's awesome. Um, oh, here's a good question. What
All
do you
right.
think of the comment that the entire Leica look can be achieved simply via software? And this is kind of related to our photo editing.
Understand?
What do
I
you think?
think, I think color-wise, you can achieve by software. Because these days softwares in terms of colors, right? But look wise though, like if you have used certain Leica lenses and these lenses were not designed to be perfect, they have flaws or what we call character. And this character, like the way they render the bokeh, the way they separate the subject from the background, it's not just make the background blur. No, there is like certain transition, the way they render micro contrast, and even the way like how the proportion of like from the center to the edge is not exactly even. There is some unevenness. That's why we call it lens flaws, right? And all this adds up to create certain look for Leica lenses. It is why the lenses can be made so tiny, right? Because they don't correct for a lot of things. And I don't think these characters can be replicated very easily in software, especially if you don't even know what those characters are, what those look
Right.
are. Right? Yeah. Color, yes, of course. You can create LUT. Like now, Panasonic allows you to insert your own LUTs and you can
Yeah.
apply to any photos, right? But not so much on the overall look rendering from the lenses. And that's what made Leica special, right? No one can do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And there is a lot to be said about that Leica look. I mean,
Mm.
some, I've never shot with a Leica lens other than the Panasonics, but that's not really the same thing.
No, it's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it from the images I've seen, you do sense a little difference there
Mm.
with the images themselves. Like you said, it's something about the transition, the way it renders,
Mm.
uh, the out of focus areas, the bokeh, dealing with the optics of the lens and the way they designed it.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's not just the design, it's the manufacturing process that goes into creating the final product. Because there's not many manufacturers go through all of the steps and degree of, precision that Leica
Mm.
does when they design a
Mm.
lens. Because I wouldn't be surprised if you took a lens design from 7 artisans, but asked Leica to make it, right?
Mm.
That lens would be very different,
Yes,
right?
that's true.
Because not because of the lens design, but because of the actual manufacturing process that Leica puts their lenses through. Uh, because it has to go with the polishing, the coatings that they use, the
Yes.
tolerances and the focusing. There's a lot of things that go into lens design beyond just the optics that I think,
Agreed.
yeah. So yeah, short answer is yeah, you can't really just do it in software. Even the
Mm.
colors, I would say, would be very difficult because while you could take two images and duplicate from camera A to camera B, regardless, even if it was a film camera, you can duplicate the colors from that film camera to the digital camera for that one image.
Mm. Mm.
But you go to a different image, you can't just simply apply that same process to the other image because the color response is different, how the camera
Yeah.
reacts. There's so many differences.
It will take a
Uh,
lot of work.
yeah,
The color
and
matching.
yeah, color matching has to be done image by image by image. You can't just simply apply a LUT, in my opinion,
Agreed.
to get that
Yes.
look across all your images, even when it comes to color. Um, But yeah, okay. Uh, I didn't see any other questions, and I'm terrible at finding them. Did you see any, Robin, off the bat that maybe you
No, I
wanted to
don't. I don't
address?
think so. I don't think so.
Okay. Okay, good. Because what I'd like to do now is actually focus more on you and your photography.
Sounds great.
Uh, because like I said, your just your Instagram feed and what you put on your website as your part of your portfolio, there's definitely a certain style and look to them
Ah,
that, I can look at that and I can start at the very top of your Instagram feed and go down several pages. And that look and feel that I get is exactly the same, right? More or less. And
understand.
so I think you can give some good advice on how people can find their own style by maybe
Mm,
explaining how you got to your style of
sure.
photography. Because I guess the first question I had was, when you go out and do your shutter therapy,
Mm-hmm.
which I love that you coined that term. It's awesome. Uh, do you have a plan when you go out, or do you just kind of wander about and just whatever catches your eye?
Mm. Okay. Sometimes there's a plan.
Hmm.
Sometimes there isn't. I'll give you an example. Recently there was the largest festivity celebration in Malaysia called Hari Raya, or I think you guys would call it Eid. Idul Fitri. The Muslims will fast for 1 month, and
Hmm.
at the end of the fasting season, they'll have like a super huge celebration festival thing with the family and friends, their feast and everything. They'll dress in the traditional costume. They'll
Yeah.
visit relatives' houses for meals and stuff like that. Obviously, I'm not really part of the celebration because it's a very specific Muslim celebration. I'm not
Yeah.
Muslim, but we get to witness them. It's a
Hmm.
fantastic photography opportunity. And I think I'm very blessed to be in Malaysia because we do have all these very colorful, cultural, very, very significant cultural things
Yes.
happening for us to photograph. So knowing that it was the first day of the celebration, it's going to be massive. So we intentionally, me and a few friends, we went to a village and we intentionally wanted to capture the celebration. For that kind of outing, it's more planned. Like I have a
Mm.
mini project in my mind. So I want a series of 10 photographs, for example. It can be 5, it can
Wow.
be 10, it can be 20.
Okay.
But I'll usually start with 10. So the first 1 or 2 photographs will be establishing shot. It will have to be a wide angle shot.
Mm.
Once you look at the photograph, I know you may not be able to tell because I know in Malaysia, but for Malaysians, if you look at the photograph, you know that's the location. So the location was Kampong Baru, or if you translate to English, it's New Village, and it's very near the city center.
Mhm.
So I need like iconic buildings, like the Twin Towers
Mm.
of KLCC, for example, Kuala Lumpur City Center. And then because it's a village, I need the foreground to have those wooden houses, the traditional looking Malay houses with all this old architecture. They're on stilts. So the houses will tell you that this is a village, and the
Mhm.
background will tell you the location of the village. So that's
Mm.
my establishing shot, right? And then I go to detailed shots. So I'll go to like we found this huge family. I think there's like 50 of them taking a group shot, and they all wore the same color, or
Wow.
they are coordinated, similar theme, right? That's what they do. They love to dress up in similar theme.
Mhm.
We call them baju Melayu because it's the traditional Malay costumes, and they look fantastic. So I took photo of that to show, hey, this is what happened. This is the first day of celebration. Everyone dressed up. And
Mhm.
then we were even lucky enough to be invited to go into their houses for a meal. So I get to shoot that as well. So I compile, of course, during shooting, we try to get as many details, as many interesting photographs as possible. There were photos
Mhm.
of kids running around with consent, by the way. I know child privacy is a very huge
Yeah.
thing in the US and everywhere else, but every time you see a photo of a kid that I took, it's always with a consent from the parent. usually I'll have a video evidence of saying, hey, can I take a photo of your kid? And the parents will say yes. There's always, I'm trying to protect myself. Anyway, there's kids running around playing with firecracker. So there's like details of the food and everything. Then I compile into a series. Then that's like a mini project. Why I want to do a mini project is because I like my photos to have a beginning and an end, so that once it finishes, I can move on to the next project, or I can continue if I want to. But I just want like for that self-contained episode of story, right? Yeah. So that's the time when I know I have a planned theme or a project that I wanted to do, and then there are times when. Let's say this will be a good example to test a lens. Say I receive a lens from Sigma, for example. Sigma has a new lens, and I just want to get sample photographs, but I want to get good quality sample photographs. Not technically good, but at least it has some visual interest, like have interesting architecture or nice portrait of a human, or like a scene in the city or something real. I'm using the lens as if I'm shooting something for myself. I'm really using it to take a serious photograph. Right? So the photograph has to be good. In that case, it's open. I see a cat, I'll take photo of a cat. I see flowers, I'll take photos of flowers. I see whatever, a nice car, I'll take photos of the car. But of course, with proper lighting, composition, everything, all the technical things, I have to make sure that it's visually appealing to make sure that people know, okay, I did not just shoot a brick wall, or I did not just do like a very standard test, but I really try to use the lens as if I'm really using it for a serious photo shoot, right? Or even we will hire a model to take like portraits of the model, which I did recently for the Vutrox 85 f1.8. So for those kind of situations, no theme, and there are also times where I was just lazy. Like my friends will ask, "Hey, let's go for breakfast and do a quick photo walk." Okay, I'll just look at my camera. Okay, I'll decide GM1 and kit lens, and I'll just go out and take whatever, and I don't even care. Yeah, I just want to like have fun. Sometimes it's good not to have too many things in your mind. You just see whatever you want, shoot whatever you want. It can be fun as well. So it's a mixture of like planned and unplanned. So yeah, it depends. It really depends. Yeah.
All right, well, because that's the thing is when I look at your Instagram feed, for example, you have you're really good at organizing them by color or by theme, but primarily by color, it looks like. And the images do have that style. Are these the kind of the more like random shutter therapy images, or when you put those images? Yeah.
I need to tell a story about the Instagram first. I came into Instagram very, very late. Like everyone already had Instagram, and I have not started Instagram. I don't even remember when I started, but I was very late. And the reason why I have not started was because I did not know what I wanted to do with my Instagram. I already have my blog where I share my photographs, and I have my Facebook page, which I also share my photographs. So I thought, like, if I have an Instagram, do I want to share the same thing? It doesn't make sense to share the same photographs in 3 different locations. At least it doesn't make sense to me, right? A lot of people do that. I know it's not wrong. It's not wrong. It's fine, because different platforms will have different audience. I know that now, but back then I was like, why do I want to do the same thing 3 times? It makes no sense. Until one day, my close friend Amir, he's one of my street photography buddies. We shoot a lot together. He told me, Robin, I'm going to start doing a black and white Instagram page. Everything black and white. So he started doing it, and I look at his photographs. Oh my goodness, these are really, 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 really nice photographs. He killed it. His black and white photography was on another level. I was so jealous, and he figured it out. He knew what he wanted to do with his Instagram feed. It was so well curated. His photos were stunning, and I was so jealous. And I told myself, no, I'm not gonna lose. So I told myself, okay, you do black and white. I'm gonna do colors because I have a lot of colors. So long story short, I have a wide collection of color photographs, whether they are from series of mini projects. There are also series of longer term projects, and there are random photos. A lot of, actually, I would say 70% of my photo walks are just random photos. Like I see whatever I want, I take. Even when I'm like focus on a project. Let's say I want to shoot red cars, for example. We have a lot of red cars in Malaysia. Let's say if I see a cat, I will take a photo of a cat. You get what I mean? Like, come on, you don't just block out everything else, right? If you see something you like, you
Right.
take a photo. So I have a huge collection of color photographs. So all I did was I grouped them in color and I see if they matched nicely together, and I just published them in a more curated view on my
Right.
Instagram feed. Yeah, it's more
Right.
like you do your black and white, I'll do my colors. That's how
Right.
it started. Yeah.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense. So you're curating your images before you put them on Instagram, more or less. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I did not
So
intentionally shoot for that
right.
feed. The photos are already there. I
Right.
just put them together. Yes.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you answer the chat section for for about a minute. I need to
Okay.
step away just for a minute, okay? And then I'll be right
Sure.
back. All right. Sorry about
All
that.
right. No problem. Let's see.
Okay.
All right. Hey guys. Welcome to I think I just hijacked Rob Track's stream. So welcome to another stream. How you guys are doing? Okay? How is everyone doing so far? I see a lot of familiar faces. I'll try to get to as many people as possible. Darko, hi, how are you? Darko said he did a 7 kilometer street photo walk with a Z5. That's amazing. Let me just bring my microphone nearer here. All right. We also have Roberto. Hi, Roberto. How are you? Yes, let's do this. Roger says good morning. Good morning to you too. Bob says good afternoon. Hey, Bob. How are you? Nice to see everyone. Paul, Gordon, Viper Gamuka. Hey, how are you? Hey, Mako. Very nice to see everyone here. Robert, Vic, Jack, Laurie. Hey, Sim. How are you? Hey, Sim, I thought you were going to go to the S9 launch this afternoon. I didn't see you there. Yeah. Vic, Sistema, Calvin, Gordon, all the nice familiar faces or familiar names, by the way. I can't see your faces from the chat. John, Jeff Painter. Hi, Jeff. Hey, you said you were going to tune in, right? Here you are. Nice to see you, Vic. Angelo, Playful One. Yeah. Paul again. All right. Wayne. All right. I just want to see if there's any question or anything. All right. Clean Johnson saying good morning. And then who else? Right. Eric. Hi, Eric. How are you? Eric. And then there's Thomas. John Doe. Walter Rowe. How are you? Everyone's just saying hi. Hi to everyone. It's very nice. Sorry, I'm not looking at because my setup is very different from when I'm doing my own stream. So now that it's Rob's I'm guest appearing on Rob's stream, right? So I moved the comment all the way to this side. So I'm reading the comment here, and you guys are, I'm so sorry, I don't have eye contact. I'm very bad at this. And Emily is in the house. Hey Emily, how are you? Very nice to see you. Hey Emily, so I don't know if you know about this. Recently, okay, when I was an Olympus ambassador, of course I have access to gear, right? So I had the 60 f2.8 macro. But after I've left Olympus, I have to return a lot of things back. So I don't have the macro lens anymore. So I bought like the cheaper alternatives. Because I don't do macro for a living. I don't earn a living from a macro. So I bought like the 7 Artisans 60 f2.8, which is a manual lens. But recently, I found a macro lens at a very good price. I cannot resist. So now I have the Olympus 60 f2.8. And I can't wait to use it. Yeah. Okay, back to you, Rob.
Are you saying you didn't have the 60 at 2.8 macro before?
No, I never. I mean, I have it with me, but it's not mine. You get what I mean? Because it was on long-term loan from Olympus.
I see. Okay. Okay.
But now I have it. I
Nice.
bought
Now
it.
you own it.
Yes.
'Cause
Yes.
I'm saving up for the 90 macro myself.
Nice. All right.
I mean, I know the 60 is such a good deal and it's an
It
amazing
is.
lens, but when the 90 is out there, it's kind of like when I bought the 300 millimeter f4, I just kind of waited until I could get the one I really wanted.
All right. Okay.
So anyway, I wanted to go back to your photography, and when
Okay.
basically you say you were doing projects,
Yes.
and this is how you you set up your establishing shot, which is
Mm.
basically the location of the scene,
Yes, yes,
what's happening in the event,
yes.
and then you try and capture a lot of details, right? And that's
Correct.
something that I do in my own photography as well. And I'm finding as part of my style is I like to see the details of the scene. Um, let me swap our direction. I I like to see like details in the shots, and
Yes.
that's one of the things I'm finding in my style is including details. Like why is this here? What is that doing here? How does that relate
Mm.
to everything else that's in there? And then so you create the series, but okay, so let's compare that against your wandering about and just taking images
Mm.
randomly with your
Yes.
friends, or just it's a nice day and let me just I got some time, let me go. Do you
Yes.
find that you take more keepers or images from either one, or are they well, what's a better way to put this? I guess you can go to an event and maybe shoot a
Mm.
thousand images, whatever that number is.
Yes.
But when you go out
Yes.
on your personal stuff, given the same amount of time, do you find you take just as many
Mm.
pictures?
Just as many pictures, and it also depends on a lot of other things, right? Weather,
Yeah.
location. Some locations they have more things to shoot. There
Hmm.
are some locations that have less. For example, one of the locations that I can tell you with a lot of things I'll shoot is a wet market. I will
Mm,
come home with like
yeah.
crazy amount of photographs, right? Versus say I'm just going to a downtown, like a busy street, a
Hmm.
urban kind of street. I'll come home with maybe only 20% of what I normally shoot. But in terms of keepers, that's very tricky though, very very tricky. Sometimes when you're more focused, you get the shots because you know what you want. But
Hmm.
sometimes because you're so open, right? You just got the shot, you may have more shots, but not all the shots are keepers. You get what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah. So there are times when being focused is better, but
Hmm.
being too focused may be counterproductive as well. So that's why I
Mm,
also want to like, okay, maybe I have a few times where I have some agenda in my mind, certain shots I must take, but there are also times where I allow myself to just roam freely and not worry
mhm.
too much about getting good shots. And sometimes even this is what I always tell my friends: you cannot shoot everything. You will miss some shots.
Yeah.
It's okay to miss some shots. This is not a job, okay? There's no consequence. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
if you're a client and you're being paid, that's a different topic altogether. But for a street photography, it's okay. It's fine,
Yeah.
and you just have to enjoy the process, observe, and even if you miss a shot, you learn. You will be more
Yeah.
alert next time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
So
that
yeah,
can't
yeah.
be understated is every picture you should learn from, right?
Hmm.
Something. Even if it's a bad
Yes.
shot. Why is it a bad shot,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
Uh,
Agreed.
and that's the other thing is on your Instagram feed, you say you curate your images.
Mm.
Um, how much do you curate like on your computer? Meaning, let's say you come home with 1,000 images from a random photo walk, right?
Uh-huh.
Do you keep all 1,000 forever, or do you curate them down to like a dozen or so? Like what? That
So
would be the other extreme.
I should be curating down, but I have problem deleting. So I keep the raw files. The raw
Uh-huh.
files are there. And then how I curate is when I like the photo and I process it, that photo becomes JPEG. So after the photos that I like and I want to use are already in JPEG, but all the original raws are still there. If I have a thousand
Wow.
shots, the thousand raw photos are there. But let's say I have only exported and processed 10 photos. And that 10 photos are the curated one, the JPEGs, and I'll use it for like
Right.
Instagram or on my YouTube or post on my blog, for example. Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
see. Wow. So you
No,
keep it all.
don't follow my workflow. This is not a very good workflow. You
Oh,
should
I know.
actually
I
like,
know. To each his
yeah,
own, right? Some
yeah,
people want to keep them all. Some people like me, I
yes,
like I'll come home with 1,000. I'll curate almost within the first, half hour. I'm down to like less than 100. And then once
yeah.
I
That
get
that
those
should
down
be
to
the way
about,
to go,
10 or
guys.
15,
Follow Rob's technique. That's more efficient.
And I tell people it's because my photography is not that important. You know, nobody's going to care if I delete those 1,000 images. Um, but you know, it reminds me of like the Vivian Meyer story where somebody just
Mm.
found, you know, somehow they got a whole box of her film, developed,
Ah.
undeveloped, and showed everything. It was not curated at all,
Ah.
right? So if somebody did
Yeah.
that, let's say one day somebody just takes your hard drive and said, "This is everything Robin took."
Oh no. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's my fear, right? Is somebody's gonna take my hard drive and say, "Look at everything Rob took." And it's like, "Yeah, he wasn't
Yeah.
that good."
True, true. That's what they say, right? As a photographer, one of the important things is only to show your best work, right? You don't show the
Yeah,
subpar work. Yeah. That's why curation is very, very important.
yeah. And here's a question. This is a great. I can never pronounce his name, Zelko, but
Okay.
he participates in my streams a lot. I'm sure he's been in yours.
Awesome. Yes.
Uh, but you know, if you keep or bring somewhere one zoom and one prime, what would they be for Micro Four Thirds?
If it's just wait, because it's one zoom and prime, right? Not just one zoom
Yeah.
or prime. One zoom will be 12 to 40.
Hmm.
Oh, it depends on doing what though. Is it just for travel or okay, if it's
Yeah,
for
it's always
travel,
why, right?
yeah, if it's for travel, I'll bring the 12 to 32 Lumix, the tiny one,
Hmm.
and maybe a 45 f1.8. But it's for like for everything, right, for jobs, whatever, right? Then maybe 12 to 40 Pro and a 25 f1.2 Pro. Yeah, pro. I mean for jobs, right? Pro
For jobs,
lenses.
it would
So
be the 25, but
yeah, and a 12 to for
and the
travel
12
will
to
be the
40
smaller one. Yeah, 12
for
yeah,
travel. And that's
yeah.
I think that's an excellent choice because in the past, when people have asked me, what is the first prime you should get?
Oh,
I tell them the 45 1.8
yeah.
because the kit lens covers 12 to 40 or 12 to 32 or 12 to 42, right? The
Yes.
kit lens covers, but when you get to the longer end at 42 millimeters, you're at f5.6.
Yeah.
So if you get to 45, you can be at 1.8. And
That's
I just
true.
always felt like that would give you more shots overall. Because you can get to 25 1.8. A lot of people said, no, you should get to 25 1.8 as your first prime or the 17. And I'm like, well, with the
Yeah.
kit lens, you're like at f3.5. There's not that much difference,
Mm. True,
you
true,
know?
true.
But when you're at f5.6 going to 1.8, that's when you can
That's
see
a
a difference.
huge difference. Agreed,
Yeah.
agreed.
So I think that's interesting. You would have chose a 12 to
Mm.
32 and a 45 1.8 because that's exactly
Yes.
what I would do.
Oh yeah?
So my answer is the same. I would take the kit lens plus a 45 1.8
Yes.
because you're pretty much covered in terms of even depth of field
Mm, mm, mm.
and field of view. These two things, you
Yes.
have everything covered. So that's actually a really good question because everybody looks at everybody always asks, what's one prime you would take, or what's one lens you would
Ah.
take, right? But not too many people. Well, if you could take two, what two would they be? You know? And I think, yeah, I
Yes.
think that
And,
that
and
really
I will
helps.
usually bring two lenses for travel. Exactly two. Yeah, I
Yeah,
rarely just bring one because micro four thirds is so tiny, right? You can afford to just squeeze one more lens in the bag.
I
It
know. Just
doesn't,
put it in your pocket
right?
right here, right?
Right? Exactly. Yeah.
It's no big. I've
Yeah.
done that so many times. 45 1.8 will fit right
In the
here.
pocket.
You
Yeah.
know. Um, okay, so yeah, well, so that's the curation and the process
Mm,
of
mm,
doing
mm.
projects. And I think projects makes a lot of sense in the sense of trying to find your style, but that organization of establishing the shot. These are common project type parameters, but
Mm,
it's important to repeat them because this is how you find your own style.
mm,
Uh, because then you can go through all those images, curate them, and post them on Instagram,
mm.
right? Like you do, and
Yes.
that
Yes.
it really shows that you have a very actually methodical process of coming up with. When we look at Robin Wong's photography, this is Robin Wong, right?
Yeah.
That's
Speaking a bit
yeah.
more on style, it's
Mhm.
very because it's it takes time to develop. And I didn't just shoot the way I shoot, or because we all have preferences, right? Oh, we must
Mhm.
stand at certain distance, compose in certain way. Like I prefer certain lighting. I like my photos to have certain look. It develops over a long period of time,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of try and error. And then you just ask yourself after each photo that you've taken over, let's say, many sessions, right? What are the kinds of photos that you like from your own photos, your own style of photos? Maybe you don't like
Right.
photos with too much shadows, for example, or maybe you don't like photos that don't have enough colors, for example, or maybe you don't like too much empty space, or maybe you like photos that are wider, that can tell a story. If you, environmental portrait, right? Because I do a lot of type portraits, like just headshots, and I have friends who just do environmental. I do a bit of both, but I'll say more tighter portraits because I really like
Mhm.
the facial expression, and that's what I like. You don't have to
Yeah.
agree with me. Like everyone has their own preferences, right? A lot of
Right.
people say, "Oh, the stronger way of composition or storytelling would be environmental portrait." So you have the person, different layers of the background to support
Mhm.
what it's doing, using the location and surrounding elements to tell a more compelling story, right?
Right.
There's no right and wrong if you that's what you like. I'm just saying that like for style, for that certain look, like one of the examples, I love super tight portraits, super tight portraits, right? It took me some time to get there. Like I will take like from a
Mm.
distance, nearer, environmental, from there, from here, candid or
Mhm.
pose, or whether I approach the person or not. After all this fine tuning, so many things I fine tuned, then I realized that okay, now I just go straight to the person, ask, hey, can I take a photo? And then maybe we'll chat a little bit, take the photo and
Mhm.
show the person. That's how I do it. And usually it's with the 45 f1.8. Very
Yeah.
specific. That lens gave me that look. And then certain light, usually it's morning light in Malaysians, and
Mm.
sometimes it doesn't even work in certain type of weather. It has to be certain weather,
Yes.
that lens, and the person has to stand in certain shade to get that look. And like you said, style, right? It takes some
Yeah.
time, and you know what you want. And to get there, you just need to shoot more and more and more until you understand what you want. Yeah.
Yeah, and that really leads me to, and you've kind of already answered it, the key elements that you look for in your images,
Ah.
right? How do you compose them? The lighting, people, is there
Mm.
geometry involved? We all have our different approach uh, to composing an image, and by composition, that's everything, right? Lighting, subject,
Yes.
uh,
My
and
advice to a
Mhm.
lot of people doing street photography would be instead of asking the how questions, because we always say how to compose, how to get dramatic lighting, how to edit,
Mhm.
right? How to make the colors pop, or how to get bokeh or things like that. Instead of asking all the how questions, maybe we can start asking the what questions. What are you shooting?
Mhm.
What's interesting in that frame? Like, what are you doing with your camera? Like when
Yeah.
you're on the street, subject content is very important. If you have
Mhm.
a strong story, if you have like, let's say for example, facial expression, right? That
Mhm.
expression itself is the what in my portrait, like the
Mm.
expression on the person, right? Or let's say my friend takes the environmental portrait of a lady selling fish in the market. Her
Mhm.
selling fish is the what in the photo. When you have
Mm.
a what in the photo, then you work around that subject content. So your composition, your lighting, your arrangements, what you include and exclude from the frame, the
Mhm.
geometry, if there is, all this you try to put it together to enhance what you
Mhm.
are shooting, the story that you're telling in your photograph. It
Right.
doesn't take it away, but it enhances what you're trying to shoot. The what, yeah. So I always
Mhm.
ask people to start with what first. Yeah.
Okay, so there's what are you taking a picture of, and then what are the
Mm.
elements that can support that main subject,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay, and then uh, you also brought up bringing this into your own style. Is you generally shoot in the mornings? You like
Yes.
colors, right? There's a lot of other things. So that's something a lot of times I've never really thought about is part of my style shooting at a certain time of the day when the lighting is a certain way? Like, is it
Yes.
partly cloudy? Is it sunny? Is it mostly
Mm.
cloudy? that could be your style, right? You always shoot on
Yes,
a cloudy day,
yes.
you know.
There are certain photographers that chase just shadows. You know,
Mm,
the long shadows.
yeah,
Obviously, you don't get long shadows the whole day, right? It's only like certain
right,
time of the day. Yeah, yeah. Or
right,
those golden light, the super
yeah.
golden light. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So there's a lot to it. I mean, it's always a continuous learning process because when I think about style, I think about color and composition, but I've never thought,
Ah,
do I get this color and composition because it's that certain time of the day? That's when that happens,
yes, yes, yes.
right? One of the
Also,
recent.
also, Rob, people are friendlier in the morning in Malaysia. It gets too hot in the afternoon. Everyone sweats. I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, I don't want to smile anymore. So that
yeah.
also contributes to why I shoot portraits in the morning.
Oh, okay. Wow. So it's it's how the environment affects the people as well,
Yes, yes, yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah. Because wow. Because I live in an area where we get all four seasons, so definitely people's mood is very different depending on the time
True.
of year and what events are going on. And you've said many times that people in
Mm,
Malaysia are generally more friendly to
yes,
photographers.
yes.
I've had a few bad experiences. It only takes one or
Oh,
two for me to kind of give up. But um, what would you say are sort of the biggest challenges of street
mm,
photography, regardless of region? What do you think
mm,
really is something that would be challenging to anyone who wants to get into street photography?
mm. I think to do street photography, if you really want to grow, as you said, how to develop into a style, to get your own style, or if you want to go to the next stage, I think the
Mhm.
biggest challenge is time. It may sound like,
Mm,
oh, I have time, I can spend time, but how much time are you spending on the streets? Because a lot of people have full-time jobs, right? So Mondays to Fridays, especially in Kuala Lumpur, big cities like Kuala Lumpur, people don't get off work at 5 or 6. They get off work late at night, like maybe 8 or 9, and by then you're so tired. You can still shoot at night. Night photography is fun, but nobody wants to shoot at night already because maybe they have family to get back to. Maybe they want to rest up for the next day.
mhm,
So it only leaves weekends, right? Saturday and Sunday. Sunday is always the family time. Like they're going to go to
mm,
church or they pray at temples or bring family out. So it leaves only Saturday. So if you only spend one morning Saturday every week to do street photography, maybe 1 to 2 hours. And then a lot of times it's a social gathering with friends, depends on what kind of street photography outing that you go to. Some of
mhm.
them is more talk, beer, coffee than any shooting. If you join
Yeah,
those type, then you don't really spend enough time shooting. And if you don't put in the work and time, you will never improve. I realized that very, very quickly. The more you shoot, it's like sports. Let's say swimming, for example. You
mhm,
can't be a world champion swimmer by just swimming once a week. It doesn't work that way. They get up every morning 4, by 5, they are in the water already. There's this thing called skin and water. What was that? Adhesion or whatever, like they need to have that
mhm,
relationship with water. They need to be in the water every day from the first thing in the morning,
mm,
so that when they go to competition they just go in without like having to adapt. So training, discipline, consistency, that's how you improve, right? Same with of course, I'm not asking everyone to wake up at 5 every morning to do street photography. That's ridiculous.
right.
But you gotta ask yourself, like, how much time are you spending? And in the beginning, like when I realized this very early on, and of course, I follow a lot of other photographers like Kurt Tuck, who is based in Austin, Texas. He
Yeah,
writes fantastic blog articles. He also talk about he's a swimmer. That's where I got that analogy from. Uh, you gotta spend time, and that's the thing. I see a lot of people they spend more time consuming content, watching
mm,
YouTube videos, looking at photos on Instagram, than actually go out and shoot. And I think that's the
yeah.
biggest challenge. Yeah, even for myself, like now, even now, I will have to tell myself, Robin, stop watching so much YouTube videos and just actually go out and shoot. It's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
hard. It's so hard, right? Like everyone's posting new videos. Like, oh, Matti has a new video. Let's watch 10 minutes.
I
Hey, Peter
know.
just posted a new video. Then the next thing you know, 1 hour is gone. I'm like, I could have done my street photography for that 1 hour, right? It's also a problem for
Yeah.
myself. It's a reminder to myself. It's a reminder to myself.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah.
definitely, yeah, people, yeah, need to make time, but yeah, I'm as guilty at watching YouTube all day sometimes, you know.
Same, same.
Oh God, and it's like, how do you go down this, rabbit hole? Sometimes I like last week, well, it was more like 2 weeks ago, I was into like watching these scare cam videos. I
Oh,
watched them all day. People, like the Bushman
wow.
jumping out and scaring people and
All the pranks, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I was like, wow, that would be great. I could dress up like a Bushman, have my camera and
I will
anyway.
say though, like coming back to something more relatable to what we do as content
Mhm.
creator YouTubers, my challenge. This is not so much of on street photography challenge, but more like a challenge as a content creator, right, YouTuber, because I not only I have to shoot content. So as much as I love to say, oh, I don't care about everyone, I just shoot for myself, but most of the time when I take for like street outings, I also have to think what kind of topic can I use these photos for?
Yeah.
You get what
That's
I
right.
mean? Like, oh, tips on doing black and white photography. Then I will customize the outing for that certain session, right?
Right.
Or oh, am I gonna talk about GM1, for example? Or tips on using small cameras, and I have to work out my session based on that. The
Yeah.
photography part has become challenging in a sense where I need to devote a part of my brain power to
Mhm.
shoot video while I'm taking photo. And that
Yeah.
part to me, I still cannot get used to even until now because I've been doing this for years. I've been talking about this to Mati Solanto and he also shares the same struggles. Like the photos that we take when we are making video, they're just
Mhm.
not as good as we just don't do any video, just focus on photography.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
It's true.
compromise. Yeah.
Yeah. We have
That's
competing motivations for this images.
yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Right. Especially lens reviews, right? They're the
Oh,
most challenging.
I have to
Uh,
test the flare, shoot against the sun.
yeah, yeah. And ultimately, I'm like, I when I think about a lens, I don't worry about personally a lot of these technical characteristics, right? I
Mm.
focus mostly on the focal length. Like this is a
Understand.
35, this is a 17. This is what I would use, and that's how I think about lenses: is what is the focal length and what am I going to use it for?
Mm.
If it's going to be a low light, like night photography, then I'm going to want this
Ah.
focal length with this aperture.
Yes. Yes.
You
Yes.
know, because all of the defects that people see in lenses, like in all of these lens reviews, the flaring, the coma, the chromatic aberration, a lot of this
Mm.
stuff is just wiped out in post processing and have no impact on the story of the image, right?
Yes. Yeah. The
Ultimately, it
content.
doesn't. Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't make the image. But
Agreed.
anyhow, lens reviews have to, some people, a lot of people look at lenses. If you can buy a lens that doesn't have chromatic aberration for the same price, why not?
Exactly.
So we have to go into that detail because everything is so competitive, and you can say, well, this one's a
Yes.
little better, but uh, yeah, time. Going back to your challenges, time is definitely a challenge.
Mm.
You have to make time for your photography. Uh, And that's why I think joining a photo club, it just forces my schedule to go out and shoot for
Yes.
me and
That's one solution. That's one solution. And they
yeah,
have photo challenges, right, from time to time. Yeah.
yeah, the challenges from our fellow creators online, or
Yeah.
just make a list of challenges that you want to do for yourself, projects, right?
Mm.
And see where it takes you. Um, and before we get to sort of an open Q&A, because there's a lot of questions piling up. So people, if you're in the chat section now, go ahead and start putting your questions in, and we'll get back to these. But uh, being out on the street and putting all the time that you have into your photography, I mean, I'm sure you got
Mm.
some great stories. What would you say is the most interesting or weird thing that's happened to you on any of your photo walks over?
I think nothing to. Oh, all right. This is gonna sound a bit strange. I have a few stories. I'll share this one first. So it was
Mhm.
during Chinese New Year, a few years ago, when I just started doing YouTube, and because I had a blog for the longest time, and my blog was
Right.
also quite, I would say, successful, right? People do read. But when I was blogging, people don't know how I look like. Like now, people do
Mm.
recognize me in on the streets. People will come and say hi.
Mhm.
That's normal because on
Yeah.
YouTube we have to show our face.
Yeah.
So
You get
back
used to
then,
it.
yeah. So, so back then, like people don't know how I look like. So there was this guy. I think there was this guy who came up to me and said, "Hey, oh, that's a nice looking camera." I said, "Oh yeah, it's the EM1 Mark II," and oh, that's a
Mhm.
nice lens. Oh yeah, it's the Olympus 25. And then we started talking about gear and photography and stuff. And at the end of it, before we part ways, then he said like, "I bet Robin Wong is here somewhere." Yeah. I was like, yeah, he
Come
must be
on.
somewhere here too. So
Oh my God.
that was one of the funnier things that happened. But
Oh my God.
can you imagine, right? And I don't
Yeah,
know
that's
why
hilarious.
yeah, Robin Williams was somewhere here. I don't know. And then the
Oh,
more interesting that happened was so I managed to get one of my street photographs being sold as a book cover. So which is very interesting.
wow.
Someone approached me, so I have a blog where I put my photos, and someone just emailed me, "Hey Robin, we want to buy this photo for this book." They gave me the author, they told me what the book is about, where it's going to publish, things like that, and they want that photo. They want to
Mhm.
buy the copyright of the photo to be used as on the cover of the book, and that was the most random thing ever because I don't see because I am a professional photographer, right? I shoot events, I get paid. I shoot
Mhm.
portraits, I get paid. I shoot weddings, I get paid. I do
Right.
street photography, I don't expect it to get paid, right? So that was a very nice, I think, very nice surprise. And to show
Yeah.
that, hey, you know, like if I'm really serious about this, it can go somewhere. But I'm not pursuing it. I'm still doing like street photography purely just because I want to do it, right? So yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people they think about photography as a business. If they really enjoy photography, they're
Mm.
like, "Hey, I can make money doing this maybe." Uh, one advice I would give is make sure you start cataloging your images uh,
Mm.
so that you can sell them later. Because you don't want to,
Agreed.
you know, somebody might be looking for something and you can say, "Oh, I have that exact image," and then you can find it very quickly, or they can be indexed for buyers to potentially review. Anyway, people
Yes.
that are serious about selling their photography over time,
Yes.
cataloging your images is very important.
And
Something I don't do. Yeah.
older photos can increase in value over time. Like
Yes.
some buildings may disappear already if you have the photo. Some people may look for that, and if you're the only one who has it, you can sell the photo, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. There's a lot of and if nothing else, it's always fun to see before and after. This is what this street looked like 20 years
Yeah.
ago, and this is what it looks like now, and it's totally different. Or
Different.
maybe it
That's
hasn't
true.
changed at all, right? It's
Exactly.
always
Exactly.
fascinating. Um, wow, that's I can't imagine. Gee, I wonder if Robin is out here somewhere. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it must be here somewhere.
Yeah.
We parted ways.
Wow. Okay. So, let me pull up some of the questions that I've
Sure.
seen.
Let's do that.
I see Darko, longtime viewer and participant here in our
Yeah.
streams, is how prevalent is Nikon in Malaysia?
Okay. In terms of I'll talk about the brand in a bit. In terms of business, they were dominant in the year 2000 and let me see, 2008, 2009, 2010. Around those few years, they were really dominant. They were just trailing behind Canons. They claim that sometimes they were ahead of Canon. So it is the big two, Canon and Nikon. These are DSLR days. But over the years,
Okay.
I don't know what happened. When I started working for Olympus, they started to drop. They were not doing well
Mm,
to a point where Olympus was possibly doing better than Nikon. And to prove this point, when JIP carved out the imaging business from Olympus. That happened in late 2021, right? And at the same time, Olympus Malaysia shut down. Before that happened, shut down operations because of the pandemic, right? Nikon shut down first before Olympus. So it shows you that both Nikon and Olympus were not doing very well in Malaysia. In terms of brand, I would say that they are not as strong as Sony and Canon. There's still a lot of people using Nikon, but you will see everywhere it's just Sony, Canon, Sony, Canon, Sony, Canon everywhere. Nikon is not as dominant as maybe in the US or some other countries. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I don't know, here in the US, I don't know, my photography club is biased too. We all shoot Olympus.
Because of
of us,
you, right? Because
you
you were
know,
there. You were like, use Olympus or
well,
you get
no,
out.
it was the organizer of the group actually shot Olympus, and that's how he found me. And then when I got
Nice.
into the group, I was like, wow, everybody here shoots Olympus, but uh, yeah. Okay, so this is more software related. It
Okay.
says, how did you decide to stick with preferred editing software? I know Robin likes Capture One and Rob likes
Uh,
DxO. What is it about the apps that you like?
okay. Um, I can tell you why I chose Capture One, but I can't tell you why I stick with it because I'm just lazy. I am the kind of person that once I get comfortable with certain workflow, I'll just use it
Yeah,
until it doesn't serve the purpose anymore. Then I know that Capture One now may not be the best anymore. There are a lot of better editing software, but at one time Lightroom was the best, right? Everyone's using Lightroom, and
yeah,
I compare Lightroom with Capture One. Lightroom will render Canon and I'm talking about in the past. Okay, this is not even relevant anymore these days. Lightroom at that time will render Canon and Nikon colors very, very, very beautifully. When you chuck in Olympus RAW, it's just horrible. And then you put Olympus RAW in Capture One, my
hmm,
goodness, the difference is just huge. You don't even have to touch any sliders. The recipe built into the Capture One, it just works. All I have to do is just minor editing, and that's one reason it handles
hmm,
Olympus RAW better at that time, and it's more efficient. Like every slider I do is real time, and the exporting time is much faster than Lightroom.
yes,
So, as a professional photographer, every second that I save from every photograph, it adds up at the end of the day. I can save
yeah.
hours or even days editing one set of photographs, right? That's true maybe 5 years ago, 8 years ago, but now, I don't know. Lightroom has been more efficient already. There are a lot of
Mm,
better softwares out there, like you are using DxO. So, no reason for me to stick. I'm just lazy. I'm just honest. I'm just lazy.
mm. Well, that is, I'll go with you on the fact that Capture One does seem to have very efficient coding, very fast. So yeah, you can
Yes.
update things in real time very quickly. Rather, because man, it's frustrating even in DxO sometimes. I'll
Oh.
move a slider and I have to wait. You get the
Uh,
circle, right?
yeah, I'm like, I
Uh,
cannot, I cannot wait.
yeah, and I never noticed it on my Olympus files, but when I'm processing my Sony files,
Oh,
60 megapixels, it's like it
yes,
really bogs down.
yes.
Um, and that's the other reason I don't like using that Sony. I got forced to use my Sony
Mm.
last week for a photo job because my OM1 was in the
Oh
shop.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You mentioned. Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
I tell you, I missed the OM1 for that photo shoot. I miss it even more after the shoot because of the post-processing. It's just so difficult. But anyhow, I'll
Mm.
talk about that at another time. I think for me, DxO, what I like about it are the tools, the control points, the masking that it
Mm.
does automatically when you're making adjustments, uh, the the demosaicing and the processing of the colors are also just seems spot on to me. And I think for editing single images, DxO, never mind the denoising processing, which I think is also at the top top of the list. I think is probably the best. Just editing the software before you do any denoising, because most of my images I shoot at pretty low ISO anyway. But yeah, the optical corrections, but specifically it's the control point tool that I use a lot. And if you guys watch my photo editing live streams, you'll see how I actually use DxO and how I think the editing starts to look very natural. When I have to brighten some areas or darken some areas. So that's what I like about DxO. And then the denoising is kind of a bonus at this point because Topaz, even Lightroom, a lot of them do denoising on low ISO images well enough. It's only when you get to the very high ISO, 3200, 6400, that's when DxO really starts to pull ahead, in my opinion. Okay. Did you see any questions? I'm not.
Not really.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, good. So we answered everyone's questions.
Hopefully
You're so
we
good
did.
at explaining things, right? But yeah, I think I really appreciate, Robin, you coming on today and answering all these questions, and giving us some insight into your process on street photography. I really like the idea of approaching street photography as a project and also how you look at things randomly and put these elements together, because that's something I like I said, you've expanded my thinking on composition. With the time of day, the lighting is very important, and that could be part of your style. Always shooting in the morning,
Yes.
right? I never even
Yes.
considered that.
Or even always shooting in the shadows. Deep
Yeah,
deep
shooting long
black
shadows, right?
shadows. Yeah.
Yeah, and eventually, you're like I've said many times, we all have our own voice. Photography is no different. Your voice will come out in your photography over time, but you have to make time, as you said, for your
Yes.
photography to improve.
Reminder for myself.
Yeah, and stop watching us on YouTube for one day. The other 6 days of the week, you need to watch us, but one day, go out and
One
do
day, go out and shoot. Yes.
um,
But
okay,
Rob,
there's
really, thank you so much for. Oh, there's a question. All right, get to the
yeah.
question
I'm
first.
gonna
Yeah.
just squeeze them out. I was gonna wrap it up, but since now everybody's like, oh
Sure, sure.
wait.
All right.
I have a number of pocket point and shoot cams, 6 megapixel to 16 megapixels. What is your impression about CCD 6 megapixel sensors on color quality? Ooh, this is a hot topic, actually. What do you think, Robin?
I have talked about this before. Whether there's anything special about color quality on CCD sensors, and my opinion is that I've tried so many CCD cameras already. I own a few, right? Olympus E1, which is supposed to have the fantastic Kodak colors, pleasing skin tones. I also own the Nikon D50, which is more muted but still very organic colors. I have some CCD compacts, and I also borrowed some. I bought one more. Pentax CCD compact, which I have not even tried. But of all the ones that I've tried before, and I look at my newer cameras, the CMOS cameras that I have, even the older cameras, my personal favorite colors are from CMOS sensors, not from CCD. My favorite colors are from the Canon 5D Mark 1, not the newer ones, the Mark 1. Man, the colors are amazing.
Yeah.
My favorite colors are from Pentax K01. These are my top two favorite colors, right?
Wow.
Then coming down will be Olympus. I prefer them over Olympus colors. But Olympus colors are great. Don't get me wrong. I love Olympus colors, but I gotta admit, there's something really special about that Pentax and Canon, and they are CMOS sensors. And I do think that the E1 CCD sensor color is amazing. I do think but it's not as good as those top two that I've mentioned. Yeah. So having said all that, yes, there are maybe something special about the CCD colors because they are not overprocessed back then. The way that the manufacturers put in the color profile in the JPEG processing maybe different from what they are doing now. Maybe there's
Yeah.
less emphasis on certain look, like now, oh, you shouldn't crush the shadow, you shouldn't crush the highlights and things like that, or they don't like now oversaturated reds because they will affect the skin tone. I think back then they didn't think about all these things, so the colors are different. But different doesn't
Yeah.
mean better.
Right.
At least that's my thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the important thing is what I've noticed, and these, of course, these are just opinions, but uh, the way they approach color in digital cameras when they were CCDs were more popular, I think is very different than today. Today is
Yes, very
today is
different.
definitely trying to be more accurate uh, and pleasing at some point. Whereas I think originally the color science was geared towards trying to make it look a lot like film. You know, trying to
Mm.
so that photographers transitioning from film cameras to digital didn't see something totally foreign. You know, they were seeing something, yeah, this is very similar to what I'm used to, and I can definitely make this transition to digital a little bit easier. Um,
Mm.
and just my opinion, I think part of it was to because a lot of the articles I've read, like I was reading an article about the Pentax. What do I have? I have one Pentax, but it has a CCD sensor, but
Ah,
I was reading in DP Review about
nice.
the color science of that Pentax, and they said they did their best to mimic a film camera. You know, the colors
Mm.
and stuff that they got from a film camera in that. So, yeah, I think it's not because of the fact that it's a CCD, it has to do more with this back end of software that created these colors in the older cameras.
Yes.
And
Agreed.
certainly there is when I compared, like, the XZ1 to the XZ2,
Mm.
right?
Big
XZ1 is
difference, right?
CCD and
Yeah.
XZ2. There are some subtle differences in the reds, different tones. Still Olympus colors, should be exactly the
Yes.
same, but there are some
There are
differences.
some differences.
Um, but yeah, you just have to, try what you try them out and see if you like them. And you can do that by looking at images online. There's a huge, DP Review has a huge database.
Yeah.
And I just looked at their test charts and I said, yeah, the colors are a little bit different here and here. Which one do I prefer? Uh, I never I never worry if it's CCD or CMOS.
Yeah.
That's
Agreed.
a non-issue. I just look at what is the camera delivering because it can be very different, brand to brand. Okay, and then I think I saw one from Emily here. Are you planning to spend some quality time this week on your 60 macro?
Because I just told her just earlier that I bought the 60 macro in the used
Yeah.
market. Yes, I look forward to finally using autofocus. All this
Oh,
time
that's
I'm manual
right.
focusing. Yeah, because I had the 7 Artisans 60 f2.8, which is a fantastic lens for that price. But now
Yeah.
with autofocus and maybe doing some focus stacking, why not? So yeah, looking forward to that. Yeah.
Right, right. And then Walter's a good friend of mine. He's making a point that CCD sensors consume more power, but are more
Whoa.
light sensitive than CMOS. And I think that was one of the main
Ah.
drivers of going from CCD to CMOS was
Yes.
the
Agreed.
lower power
Yeah.
consumption. So if anybody's wondering why did we go to CMOS if CCD was making great colors, it's mainly because of the power consumption in our
Yes.
compact cameras. And ironically, it was only Sony that really ramped up their manufacturing process to CMOS very quickly.
Mm.
A lot of the other fabrication plants just stuck with CCD. They didn't make that move.
Ah.
And that's why Sony is so dominant now in the sensor market because they were first to make that
Mm.
transition very quickly. Uh, but anyhow, just a little history that when I was researching it. And do you like black and white? And what's the best camera for it? I
Yes,
don't know.
I
Do you
do. I do love black and white,
really?
but
Okay.
yes. But I think any camera is fine. Like when you do black and white, Make sure you have enough contrast in your photographs, because or else it's just grayscale and flat. So the lighting is very important. Shadows are very important in black and white. So as long as you have lighting, texture, like if you shoot a plain sky versus a sky with a lot of clouds, texture, lines, patterns, is definitely a different way of seeing things when you compose, because without colors, you gotta find other ways to make your photographs interesting. So I think any camera is fine. I use my Olympus cameras for black and white. I don't see anything better than, let's say I use a Nikon. I do have a Nikon now. I use Nikon for black and white. I don't think any camera is better in black and white. Yeah.
Yeah.
At least unless though you shoot with a true monochrome sensor, that's a different story. Like a Pentax has an, I don't know what K32 monochrome.
Yeah.
Sorry, I could get the name wrong. Or a Leica, which is I can't afford a Leica, just to be honest. They have monochrome sensors. That is a different story, right? Then you get better quality.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm I'd love to get that Pentax black and white myself.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just to have one, have that experience of a
Yeah, true
it is
monochrome
different.
sensor. Yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time, I do like converting to black and white and being able to work with the color, the underlying color of the
The
black and white.
filters, right? Yeah, digital filters. Yeah.
Yeah. So you could, I think color photographs being converted to black and white are more dynamic because you can adjust the luminance of the different colors.
Yes. Agreed.
Whereas a true monochrome camera, you don't have that. You have to put a red filter on the front.
Real physical filters.
Yeah. But the trade-off is you get more detail and more tonality. You get more monochrome, so to speak.
Agreed.
So Pentax K3 monochrome sounds like a way to go if you're going to get a black and white camera, because it's cheap and it's relative to Leica. It's cheaper.
True.
Yeah. And then I thought I saw one other question. Oh, maybe not. If it's there, I lost it.
Okay. No worries.
But okay, we'll call it here. Well, Robin, I thank you so much for your insight and being on the channel today, in the stream, I should say. It's always a privilege and honor to have you here, and always a lot of fun. I always tell everyone, Robin's the most happy photographer on earth. And it really it's a reflection of who you are as a person. I think whatever genre you get into, or whatever path you choose in life, in the future, it'll always be fun with Robin around.
You're too kind, Rob. You're too kind. And thank you for having me. Guys, if you have enjoyed this session, please buy Rob many cups of coffee. If you want to see more of this session, I think Rob has plans to bring in like Mati Sulanto, Emily, all the Emilys, different Emilys on the stream, right? If you want to see all this happen, please buy Rob more coffee. He deserves it, all right? He deserves it.
I appreciate that. And Robin too, because this has been a long day for you, and it's almost midnight over there, I know. So thank you for coming out so late and being here. So
happy to be here.
I want to have you on again, maybe before the end of the year.
Yes, let's do this.
And, maybe have a panel. Again, not sort of our annual thing, which is huge, but just have a small panel. I'd like to do that, but I'll go offline and talk to you more about that.
Yes,
so
let's do that. Yes.
And thanks everyone that is here in the stream today. I really appreciate the feedback and the comments that you left for us. They're always very interesting to see after, because I always watch these after as well.
Same.
And I appreciate the support that our viewers give us. Like Robin always says, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys.
Yes.
So thank you for that, and you guys have a great rest of your what is today? Today's great rest of your week. This is the first day of the week for a lot of people. Great rest of your Sunday. And we'll see you again next time.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Okay.